360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories, broadcasting and live streaming to millions of devices around the world, including Roku, and live streaming to Facebook Live. Also on Amazon Fire TV and to Twitch. Also Android TV and Periscope. Broadcasting to Apple TV and YouTube Live. Proudly brought to you by our host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Mccullough Vidal, host and administrator, and Jim Grant, producer and host. Proudly brought to you by the 6minutewebinar.com. And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I see I got a little bit of a lighting problem today. I don't know why it is. Looks like I got some mosquitoes over here, over there. But I'm going to try to fix that in a few minutes. But most importantly, welcome to the show. We're so glad that you're here. This is our part one of Life Begins at 40. And it's a wonderful thing because as you grow older, and our guest today is Mr. Nathan Mccullough. Nathan's been on the show before, and he's got a tremendous story. He's in holistic healing and his background and all. And we're going to share some things. I'm also going to be sharing some things about us men folk that have men problems since I've been in that category. But most importantly, I want to thank you for tuning in wherever you are, whether it's on your computer, your phone, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV. I mean, we're just so blessed because our numbers have grown, and we just hope and pray that we continue to provide the great infotainment and messages that you want to hear. That's important to you. But let me bring my good friend Nathan Mccullough to the stage, invite him here. Nathan, how are you today, my man?
I'm doing well, brother. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
excited to be here.
Yeah, because you were on the show back in January or February, early on. And I remember you because you were talking about holistic care and what you do in your life and your travels down the pathway of life. And well, while you're here, would you be so kind as to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your life story and just whatever you feel comfortable in sharing with the audience? Go ahead, sir.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Nathan Mccullough. I'm an integrative nutritionist and a holistic health coach, and I'm an entrepreneur. So I've been in the health and wellness industry for about 10 years. So my health coaching practice is called Rising Phoenix Wellness, which is the theme is really about, this show's called Life Begins at 40, right? So the theme of my health coaching practice is really that transformation is available at any moment, right? So there's never anything that you can't come back from, right? So this idea that you can be born again at any moment. And so that's really the name of the health coaching practice that's come out of my experience of life, which is, I went down a pretty dark path for a while and used a lot of different approaches to health and wellness and recovery, from nutrition to personal development to, a lot of different spiritual paths. And here I am today, using that as a springboard to, as they say, turn your pain into your purpose. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Absolutely. And during your pathway of life, of course, when I was in the service, I participated in beverages that were part alcohol, shall I say. You traveled down that pathway too. And that's something that, when you're young and you're dumb, as I like to say, I'm just old and dumb now, ladies and gentlemen. But when you're young and dumb, you seem like it's the right thing to do. And your
Yeah.
body is very, very forgiving.
Yeah.
And I heard someone say, I don't know who it was, it's kind of, he said it in a funny way. He says, yeah, he says, when you're young, you abuse your body. When you get old, your body reminds you of what you did.
That's right.
Yeah. And
That
in
is,
your
that's for
path,
sure.
yeah, in your pathway there, in coming full circle the way you have, I was
Mm,
real impressed with your story when I first heard about it because you came out of a need for you. And then when you found that need and you found it worked, you knew that others needed that coaching and holistic approach. And
mhm.
it's really a blessing to be able to share that with others, isn't it, Nathan?
Yeah. I mean, it's that, I mean, that's my purpose at the moment. I mean,
Hmm.
the reality is, when people are struggling with, whether it's addiction or, any kind of, mood disorder, things like that,
Hmm.
oftentimes what's underneath of it is this feeling that there's something wrong with me, you know?
Hmm.
And that's really the central theme of a lot of the work that I'm doing, is just helping people understand that the path to recovery starts with, the relationship that you have with yourself,
Yeah.
and having some compassion and some generosity and some
Hmm.
awareness, that there's nothing wrong with you. Most of the time, like when I was a kid, I was actually quite happy-go-lucky. It's not like I was coming from a really bad childhood, which often is the case for people. I was a good kid. I was happy. I developed some behavioral habits, like you said.
Hmm.
I embarked on using alcohol really to have fun in the beginning, had a lot of fun, and then my body over time was not able to deal with it in the same way, and it very slowly
Hmm.
became a dependency, which gave that turned into a lot of anxiety and a lot of experiences of like that. And then underneath of
Hmm.
that, after time, I felt like it had gotten away from me, and then there's something wrong with
Hmm.
me. And that's really what was driving it underneath, was this sense that there's
I'm sorry, you got a little bit of an audio thing there. Did your audio cut off? Your audio is not working. So anyway, while you work on that, just say something when you can, because you touched something there and the audio went off. So, but anyway, yeah, like Nathan, when I was in the service, that's when uh, well, I drank a little bit before I went in the service, and I'm not, promoting drinking. Don't misunderstand me, but when you're young and you do that, you don't realize at the time what you're doing, and to your body, the exposure of danger to your life, the risk of making very poor decisions. Um, in addition to that, of course, when you're young, you don't eat well. You just, roll with the flow. It's common for people to say, well, I overslept this morning, young people. And the reality of it is they did not get to bed early enough the night before to give their body the
mm,
proper rest. And yeah, your audio's back with us. And whenever you're you're
okay,
you're
good.
drinking like that and all, you're not eating very well either, are you?
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, that's where the holistic element comes in, right? Because it goes
Hmm.
in both directions. When when
Yeah.
when you are not feeling good about yourself, you tend to not exercise. You tend to make bad food choices, a lot of
Hmm.
greasy food, a lot of and so it creates what we call like a downward spiral. And
Hmm.
so that tends to be something that goes along with it. The anytime you start abusing your body, it becomes so much easier. It kind of creates a momentum, right? So you kind of start
Hmm.
moving in that direction. And a lot of times before people actually wake up and realize, man, this really isn't working for me, they're far enough down the path where getting back feels really difficult. And people kind of,
Hmm.
you get to that point where you kind of just go, you know what, I've come this far. Getting back is going to be too difficult, and inertia just kind of gets in, and
Hmm.
people let themselves go or whatever. And I feel like that's a big part of it as well.
Absolutely. And it really is these kind of things sneak up on you. They really do. And, you realize that when you got a problem, that's when it's more difficult to say whoa and no and start changing your life, because you got to change your life on all levels. You got to get more rest. You may even need some new friends. I remember when I quit drinking January the 1st, 1981, I only had one person, one of my drinking buddies, and I apologize for my lights. Evidently, this shirt here is picking up whatever.
You look fantastic.
Did you? Yeah. Oh, do I? Well, thank you very much. But I remember I only had one of my drinking friends that said, "Oh, Jim, you don't have a problem. No, come on, let's go have a few beers." And I said, no, I've quit. And he said, no, come on. He couldn't believe I had quit, but I quit cold turkey. And then he asked me why, and I tried to explain it to him twice before. So I just said, well, I was working 8 hours and I was drinking 8 hours, and somehow or another, I was only getting about 3.5 hours sleep a night. So I was losing about 4.5 hours of sleep, and I couldn't figure out where it was going because that's the way that lifestyle is, because I never missed a day's work, or anything like that. And because I figured, well, get more, you don't feel too well, that's the price you pay. I mean, son, you got to get it up and get it in gear and get it going, That was just the way I was brought up. And, but the point being about that is that it's a very sad life. It's a very, you can really isolate yourself in a hurry, because when you reach age 40 and you start getting into your 50s, one of the things that I can tell you from personal experience, when you're in your 50s, you cannot eat like you did when you're in 20s and your 30s. It's kind of like your body says, hey, we're getting older in here. How come you're not getting smarter? But, and in my particular case, I never was overweight or anything, but my cholesterol, that spiked. And they told me when it got close to 200, it's getting kind of high. You might want to take a look at it, change some things in your life, eat more vegetables and drink more water and da-da-da-da-da. Of course, I'm, cheeseburger and fries and a soda pop. Good lunch,
Yeah.
That's 55. That didn't work too well then. And so it climbed up to 266, my total cholesterol count. And that's when I made a decision. I got to do something. So I realized, and we're not doctors and we're not endorsing anything. We're just sharing our personal life experience here with you. We got the book, The Atkins Diet. And I know that some people rave about the Atkins diet and some people, the Atkins diet. But what I will say is continue to find a diet that works for you and your body. The big thing that I really did was cut out sandwiches and hamburgers and stuff like that at lunch. That was the big thing that I gave up. And what I replaced it with was salads. And I've never been a big salad eater, so I had to make it, palatable. I used to call it rabbit food. Shows you how smart I am. But what I did, I would cut up apples and walnuts and, put some fruit in there and make it, more of a tasty treat. But then what I experienced one day, I'd probably been on a diet for a couple of weeks, excuse me. And I was at my office and I was working. I always ate lunch at my office, and a couple of times, sometimes I'd go out. Most of the time I'd bring my lunch with me because I was so busy, didn't have time to go out and eat. Yeah, I owned a manufacturing business. And like I tell people, actually the business owned me, because you get up early, work late, and work on weekends. You see how much time you got. And you also lose your earpiece from time to time. But anyway, I had lunch, I ate the salad, and then all of a sudden I felt great. I didn't have that sluggish feeling. That was the first time that I experienced that, Nathan. And so the reason I mention that is that, ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing the right thing for your body kind of like goes, hey, this'll work. And you feel good. And that's what you got to search for, because what's good for the goose is not a perfect fit for the gander. Would you agree with that, Nathan?
Yeah, 100%. In our practice, there is no one size fits all solution. We
Right.
have something called the Body Love program, which is like a 28-day program that we run, and
Mhm.
we work on the mindset, and then the body and the spirit. But it's never, you have to do this, or you
Mhm.
have to do that. There are
Mhm.
certain practices that we encourage people to do, and we'll give them kind of a palette of different things that you can do, and
Mhm.
then people can find out what works, what works best for them.
Yeah.
For example, I'm big into affirmations and things like that, but I'm not, I've never been a big journaler, even though I would love to be. Like, I think that sounds like a really great thing. I'm more of an
Mhm.
audio learner type of person. And so my self-care practices are more geared towards meditation and audiobooks and inspirational messages. Whereas somebody who is more tactile and they're more maybe they like to write and express themselves that way. Journaling is a much
Mhm.
better approach.
Mhm.
I used to be totally, plant-based in terms of the recommendations that we had with people.
Mhm.
And then I actually developed a like an irritable bowel syndrome. For someone who
Mm.
eats as clean as I do, that should be like impossible. And
Yeah.
so I started experimenting with a lot of different things that were kind of the reverse of that. I
Mhm.
started experimenting with a little bit more meat. I tried fasting. I tried a number of different things until I found that kind of sweet spot that really worked for me. And so we
Mhm.
moved away from this prescriptive type of health coaching to more
Yeah.
intuitive, like helping people figure out what really works for them. Because
Mhm.
ultimately, they say the best form of exercise is the kind that you're gonna do, right? So, are there best practices that will probably reliably give you the best results if you do them, repetitively over time? Yeah. But if you hate
Mhm.
doing that,
Oh, yeah.
it's not a good
Mm-mm.
strategy.
Mhm.
So better go swimming if you like that, or biking, or figure out, what it is that you like doing. Because if you don't
Mhm.
like doing and it doesn't feel good for you, then you're going to stop. So
Yeah.
it's not a good strategy.
As you're talking about that, what came to my mind, if you're doing something that's you're not enjoying, your body is not benefiting from it, because the
Hmm.
signal, if I could use that term, is we know the brain, the heart, and the gut are in perfect harmony. And
Right.
if you're not happy and you don't have that positive vibration, that's going to also, be picked up by your body, if I can put it in those layman terms. Am I making sense or not?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even we know scientifically now that the ROI on being happy is like extraordinary.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
what you're saying is extremely important for sure.
yeah. It's kind of like laughter is always some of the best medicine, because laughter really does.
That's
I wish I could explain it better,
that's
but I
right.
know that laughter is good for you, so be sure and laugh. And talking about something, I want to share with you a gentleman that I knew back in the 70s and 80s. His name was Charles Prophet, went by Charlie Prophet. Those of you that are from
Hmm.
Bisbee, Arizona, you probably know who Charlie Prophet was if your residents been there back in the 70s and 80s. Charlie was retired military, and then he went to work. He's what's called double dipping here in the States. He went to work for the post office. So he's got a military retirement and he's going to have a post office retirement. Charlie was a big man. He wasn't, big like the Michelin man or anything like that. He wasn't all belly or anything like that. He was just a big man, like his body was shaped like a pear. And so
Hmm.
back in 72, 73 time frame, there was a big thing on going in and stapling the stomach. And
Mm.
so Charlie went in and had that surgery where they stapled his stomach. And afterwards, poor Charlie, we all felt felt sorry for him because before he was always happy, big guy bouncing on his feet. I mean, he could have been a clown at the circus as much energy as he had, even though he was considered by doctors grossly overweight. Okay. So he goes in and has this surgery. And afterwards, he's pale. He looks like he's, sick. He doesn't talk too well. I mean, he just kind of like, it's an effort for him to talk. He just doesn't have the energy. And he drags around for, I don't know, maybe 40 days, 2 months, something like that. It wasn't long, several weeks. And he decided, heck with it. He went back in there and had him undo that stapling procedure that they did on his stomach. And he, became the regular size again. And the important thing is that Charlie did not die young. I don't know how old he was, but he was a older fella. He was definitely a senior citizen when he passed away. But my point being, the idea of that stapling of the stomach, which was real popular back then, or it was, common, that was not the answer for him. In fact, it was the worst thing on planet Earth the poor guy went through because it was torture for him. And that goes along with what you said earlier about, there's not a one size fits all. So be sure and try different things and find something, because when you find it, your body will let you know. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Yeah, and also I think another really important element inside of what you're saying is it's something that has to be chosen by the individual. So like, whether it's medication or it's a procedure or something, if it's a quick fix that's designed to really, to fix the issue, like there's something wrong, and it's not something that the person is really taking on and taking 100% responsibility over, it's not going to work. I went into so many rehab programs and this group and that group, and I did this thing in order to like try to find the thing that was going to come in and fix me. And none of it worked. You see people that go into treatment centers or, like your friend, who they go and it's kind of like, I hope this works on me type of thing. And it just will never work, because it's like taking medication for, something where you can get rid of the symptoms, but unless you heal the root cause, right, it's always going to sprout up somewhere. It's going to sprout up somewhere else, and it's not going to stick. And so, especially when it comes to health and wellness, a lot of it is in the mind, exactly what you're saying. So, they say happiness is an inside job. And I think that there's so much truth in that. And I believe that that's really the important work for us to do as we grow and as we age and become more wise and we become more self-aware. You have to choose the things that you're doing in life, because if anybody, if they tell you to do something, or if you have to do, I don't know the last time someone told you what to do or told you that you had to do something, but my guess is it didn't go well, right? And it's the same thing, when it comes to our health, it's something that we have to decide. You know what? I want to feel good. I want to feel great. And then you build strategies around a decision that you've made versus making decisions as a reaction to something that's going on in your life. It's just a very different paradigm.
Oh, it really is. And I like what you say there, because it's very, very true. Because to be successful in anything, you got to be on board for it. You got to be committed. And that's all there is to it. And if you're doing something that, like poor Charlie, when he went in for the surgery, that's all that he knew. Hey, this is a one thing fix all. And all it did was make his life miserable for about 2 months, not to mention the pain of going through, the surgery and all that twice, once for the procedure and second for the reversal. Yeah. But also too, Nathan, I don't know if I've mentioned to you about the 6minutewebinar.com, but do you see the ticker tape down there, the 6minutewebinar.com? You see that free trial? You see that free trial?
I do.
They have authorized me, Dr. Don McGrath and Bill Heinrich. You can go there and you can register for the free trial of the 6-minute webinar. And when we say a free trial, that does not mean that's just for, like a one and done or something like that, because you do get the full 6-minute webinar. You do. And you can use it over and over and over again, because there are other packages that they have there, VIP clubs, a lot of different benefits, etc. But we want everyone to have the opportunity to be able to test drive the 6-minute webinar for themselves. And please, Nathan, I apologize. I should have shared that with you before, but I just, I don't even have a good excuse, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to say I'm sorry and apologize and let it go at that. But do go to the 6minutewebinar.com/free trial. Your name, they're not going to put you on some type of email list and blast you every 40 times a week or anything like that. They're certainly not going to chase after you to try and sell you something. But the 6-minute webinar, it is the most fantastic tool that you can have to market your business. And the 6-minute webinar, I got to say this here, it's about, we're close enough for about a little brief message about our summit coming up this weekend. The reason this summit is going to come up is because of the 6-minute webinar. And let me see if I can push the right button here. Sometimes I'm mentally challenged, but we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, right after this brief message.
Coming August the 27th through the 29th, 2021, E360 TV and Messages of Inspirational Stories proudly presents Vanya Kusick Foundation Leadership and Communication Summit in association with the 6-minute webinar and E360 TV. Broadcasting live from E360 TV studios to Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Periscope, Twitch, YouTube Live, and Facebook Live streaming. Be sure and register at the 6minutewebinar.com/communication-summit-2021-registration.
And that registration, ladies and gentlemen, is for speakers, and you can be able to watch it here on our TV show live on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to start 7 p.m. over in India, and that will be 6:30 a.m. On the Pacific Coast, 9:30 Eastern Time on the Atlantic Coast. And don't ask me why they're half an hour. It's a half an hour off. That's above my pay grade, because Vanya's going to be, I was on her summit. I got to tell you a little story about that. I was on her summit in India. And this was back in April. And her summit originally was the water conservation and rainwater harvesting. And at first I told her, I said, well, that's not really my area of expertise. And I don't want to just show up on someone's summit, just say, I'm Jim Grant and I'm a producer and host and and all that stuff. Because as a professional presenter, I know that my job is, when I show up to speak, my number one priority is to make the event coordinator look good to their audience. Nothing about me. It's all about the message. And so I took the 6-minute. Now, Nathan, you're going to get a kick out of this. The guest of honor was the Sultan, the King of Oman. And they had people watching us all over the world. Yeah. So I figured, I'm going to fudge here a little bit. I want to sound intelligent, right? So I take the 6-minute webinar, I fill it out, just like you can go to 6minutewebinar.com/free trial. I take that very same thing, because it's going to be delivered directly to your email box. And I just filled it out, because I knew when it goes through Script Pile, because all it is 40 questions is answering, and it puts it all together and gives you a readable 6-minute webinar right out of the gate. It's pretty neat. I knew that I would just change the opening, and I knew my 3 key points. I just, put some filler in there, for my time. And that's all I did. So instead of starting out like most speakers did, when Vanya introduced me there on the TV, she says, here's Jim Grant, TV producer, host, all this stuff, And I didn't start out like most speakers do. Hi, I'm Jim Grant. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. I got a worst selling book on the New York Times. I joke about that. Everybody talks about I got a best-selling book. I got a worst-selling book, But my very first comment to the audience, I simply said, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen. During my presentation today, I'm going to share with you 3 proven ways that you can get your community involved in making your community a better place to live." And see, right there, it's all about them. It's nothing about me. I'm just a messenger. And that's what the 6-minute webinar do for you, being able to get your ideal client and talking to them. Well, when you try it, brother, you're going to like it. You're in for a treat. But I'm kind of debating about this because this is borderline embarrassing, but I need to point out to men. I'm 73, okay? Sometimes us men, with our pride and dignity and our egos and our hard head, don't forget the hard head, ladies, because 58% of our audience is lady, going to say, "Amen, Jim. Thank you for that one." But sometimes we get, I don't know what it is. The ego thing, the male macho thing, but we don't want to go to a doctor and admit that we got a problem. My problem was at the time I had a swollen prostate, and that is miserable. I was getting up I started out about 2 times a night, getting up, having to go, then 3 times, then I got up to 4. Most I got up to was 5 times a night to try and relieve my bladder. But with a swollen prostate, you cannot do it. And so I'd done some research, because this has been a few years ago, several years ago, when I first did the research, probably about 10 or so. And all I could find out was butcher surgery. And I was reading some of the, what some of the people said. I'm thinking, ooh, I don't think I want that. Sound like they opened them up with a chainsaw, for goodness sakes. So I suffered through it. But I got to tell you, the true story, I was en route from Texas out to Arizona. And I'm in New Mexico. I think I'm between Lordsburg and Deming on Interstate 10. And there's not a lot of places out there. You can drive some miles before you hit a service station or rest area or anything like this. And I'm all of a sudden, I got a problem. I've got to go. This, there is no mind over matter here. Because this matters, okay? So I see this exit, and fortunately, it takes off the I-10, and there's nothing around, okay? So I exit off of there because I've got to take care of some necessary business. I do not have an option on this thing, ladies and gentlemen. And I get out of the car. I'm in a rental car. I get out of the rental car. I run around the side, open up the passenger door and the rear passenger door on the right side. Both of them are locked. So I got to run back around because I left the keys in the car, unlock the doors and run around again, open up both doors. I got this door blocking me, this door blocking me. There's nothing behind me at all. No houses, no roads, no nothing. And I'm standing there and, thank the good Lord. And I hear something to my left. I turn and I looked, and here is a New Mexico highway patrolman. And I'm thinking, this is not good. You're laughing at me. Go ahead and enjoy yourself because it's funny. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at him, and he stops the car, and I hear him call in the tag number and all that. You could tell it was a rental car from Enterprise. And I guess they gave him the information who it was rented to. And he got out of the car and he says, "Sir, what's going on?" And I said, "Sir," "Officer," I'm 6. I think I was 70 then. I'm 70 years of age. I've got a swollen prostate. I apologize, but I just couldn't go any further. And he says, "I understand, sir. Have a nice day. And thank you much." And I was teasing Nathan before the show. I said, that might have been why he didn't want to ask me to give him my driver's license. But it got to the point. This is why I want to share this story with you, ladies and gentlemen, especially you guys out there. It got to the point where I said, enough's enough. I've got to take care of this. I can't live like this, because getting up 5 times a night, you're talking about sleep deprivation. That dominoes into your health. your heart, your mind, your gut, everything. And so I went to the urologist, and he checked me out, and he says, well, we got a new product, and now I don't have any stock in these companies or anything like that, but it's called Urolift. Urolift, if I remember correctly. And he says it's a 15-minute procedure. We go in there with a little light scope, see the areas we need to work on, and we put these little steel bands around the prostate on both sides, and we separate it, and you're done. I'm thinking, wow, really? So I go in there for the procedure. Par for the course, if it sounds good, it's not good for me. Well, this was not good for me. I mean, yeah, they put the light scope up there and all that, and my problem was my prostate had swollen enough to where it was interfering with the opening of the bladder. And he says, that's not going to work for you. And I'm thinking, rats. I thought that sounded too good to be true. And he said, we're going to have surgery. And I'm thinking, oh, man. But I've made up my mind, I'm going to face this thing. I'm going to get this monkey off my back. I'm not going to live like this. And he could see my expression on my face, and he knew that I was not pleased about hearing the word surgery. He says, I do laser surgery. It's not invasive. He said, just like the light thing up here, we go right up the tube like that. We do the laser surgery, and he says there's very little bleeding, very quick recovery, no pain. And I'm going like, keep talking. You're sounding good. Keep talking, Doc.
Yes,
please. So I go in, and I'm revealing right now how ignorant I am when I go to the hospital. I do, either dumb things happen to me or I do dumb things. Okay, I'm being honest with you folks. So I go in, and I have the surgery and all that because they put you to sleep, they wake you up, send you home. Of course, you got a little bag and a tube. You can imagine that. And we're riding home, and I'm thinking, well, I wonder how much pain I'm going to feel before I get home, because we're talking about a 45-minute, trip, maybe 50 minutes, depending on traffic, maybe longer, going over some bumpy roads and all that. And I'm thinking, this is going to be fun, but no pain. I'm going like, are you kidding me? And from there, the next, got home, no pain or anything like that. And then I went to sleep that night, and you're not going to sleep well with a tube in you. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. But the next morning I get up and still no pain. And the doctor says, want to know what the color was and all that stuff. I don't want to gross out anybody, but I wasn't bleeding that much. So he says, well, come on back. We're going to take it out. Okay. This is how smart I am, Nathan. I hadn't had to take any pain pills because I didn't have any pain. Okay. But I'm figuring when they take that tube out, that's going to make my toenails grow right through my socks. So I figured, well, I'm going to get up there about 15 minutes away from the hospital appointment. And instead of taking one pain pill, I took two. Shows you how smart I am. Because I figured, well, I'm going to try to get a head start around this curve on this pain. And so I get there to the doctor's office. I'm not feeling woozy or anything like that. I'm just thinking, man, I hope these pain pills work. Did they just work in one area or what? Because I figured once I took them, I'd probably get a little, high, but that didn't happen. And so I get in the office there, and the nurse was there, and she says, okay, Mr. Grant, she says, we're going to take the tube out now. And I'm thinking, okay. She said, now what I'm going to do, they put a little donut up there so it'll stay inside the bladder. Okay. She said, I'm going to deflate the donut. Then I'm going to tell you to take a deep breath and it'll all be over. And I'm thinking, okay, I hope I don't cry or scream, And so she says, take a deep breath. And honest to goodness, gentlemen, listen to me. I did not feel anything. I looked and I thought, I'm experiencing pain. That's what thought I was going to experience was pain, like a piece of barbed wire being yanked out. And I said, that's it? She says, yeah. She says, you just, hang around here and make sure, you can go to the restroom and then you're free to go. I'm thinking, well, I should have come up here and brought a couple of guys I know. We could have checked in on this deal on the buddy plan, you know. But my point being in sharing that with you, because I've met some guys out there who are, you know, senior citizen, guy like me in their 70s, and I could tell they had a problem in the men's room, and I'd share with myself, I'm sure glad I had my laser surgery for a swollen prostate. And then they would listen to me, and I could tell they were like I was before. They did not know that the laser surgery, what a wonderful thing it is. So if you're suffering like that, and you're not sleeping well at night, if you're like me and you're in a car and you don't want to be out there on the side of the road, both doors open, you know, relieving yourself, and a highway patrolman pulled up and I said, "You okay over there?" Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, that's kind of an embarrassing situation. But seriously, for your health, please, please, please go to a urologist and check into it. You may be a good candidate just for the UroLift. I wasn't. But either way, be sure and take care of it, because your health, your sleep, your peace of mind. I mean, I don't even have to get up at night now and go, and I can get in the car and go somewhere and not have to worry about how far is it to the next rest area or gas station or something like that, because that's a miserable feeling.
Yeah.
Nathan, thank you for letting me share that very personal story from the bottom of my heart. But there's a lot of guys out there that, you know the way guys are. I mean, because ladies are more open-minded. Let's be honest. They have more of a gut feeling and intuition about what's right. And they're willing to listen to reason. I don't know what it is about us guys. I mean, sometimes you got to smack us and wake us up. You know, are you in there?
Yeah.
You know?
Or a club.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know what it is. But I wanted to share that with some guys out there, because we've got our demographics in. We get them in ever so often, and you know, like I say, over 58% of our audience is ladies, and whatever the difference is there, you can probably figure it out. You're much sharper on math than I am, Nathan. Yeah, but anyway, my point being, there's a lot of ladies out there would say, "Hey, you know, you've been getting up several times a night, interrupting your sleep. That's not good for you. Let's go to a urologist and let's discuss options." Because of my ignorance, I just thought it was butcher surgery. And I don't know if you've heard any of the. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think with all of these things, what you're doing is you're bringing awareness, right? Because you really you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes, you know, something like that happens, right? And then you might be sitting in the present thinking to yourself, how could I not have recognized that something was going on, you know? Yeah. And you know, they say hindsight's 20/20, but I think what you're pointing at is really important, right? They say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But a lot of it is, you know, you don't know what you don't know, and we're just not aware of. Stress is a big one as well. We're just not aware of how much it's kind of creeping up and creeping up and creeping up and creeping up, and it creeps up. You know, Tony Robbins has this amazing image of, he said, if you take a frog and you drop them into boiling water, away, right? But if you put a frog into a pot of water and then just slowly turn up the temperature, the frog will just boil to death. It'll never jump out. And whether, you know, for me it was alcohol. For some people it's, you know, different stresses are there. And a lot of times they just kind of increase, and we don't recognize it until boom, there's a breaking point. And you know, awareness is really the key. So you know, your story is funny, and it's amazing to tell funny stories, because oftentimes comedy is a way of telling people about something serious in a way that they can deal with it, you know what I mean, in a playful way. But the message is important, and that is, don't wait. You know, be aware of what's going on in your body, and take measures now, so that you don't have to deal with a breakdown later.
Absolutely, because I'll tell you, every time I haven't been out to Arizona lately since the COVID, but every time I'd go out through there and I pass that stretch of road after my surgery, I'd have to laugh because, that's when you stand there like that and you see a, New Mexico highway patrolman coming and he's going to pull over behind you and stop. That is not a good feeling.
That's funny. That's like a scene in a movie.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And one of the things that is really critical a lot of times is sleep. And I am not a big proponent of sleeping pills. There are some teas that work real good. There are things that you can do, but you really need to focus in on what is causing you not to be able to sleep. Mm-hmm. Is it your diet? Are you stressed? Are you worried? Because all of these things, they domino on your body, especially once you pass 40. And it's something that needs to be addressed, because I imagine in your practice there, Nathan, you probably have to address, questions about how are you sleeping? Do you have any problem or stuff like that? Because that's part of life. I mean, if you don't sleep well, you're not going to live well. Yeah,
it's a big part of life, and a lot of the research that's coming out now is showing mm-hmm. that sleep is the most important element of our health and well-being. If you don't get adequate amounts of sleep, so melatonin and cortisol are both hormones, right? And they regulate whether your body is in a state of like wakeness and adrenaline, so ready to face the day, ready to face challenges. Right. And then melatonin is a hormone that prepares the body for rest. It starts shutting down systems. It controls the light essentially mm-hmm. in your brain. And if you dysregulate the balance between, cortisol is designed to come up with the sun in the morning. That's how we as circadian beings, we for thousands of years, we woke up with the sun and went down with the sun. And so mm-hmm. that's actually the proper cycle for our body. And if mm-hmm. you get that thing way out of whack, so that your body's not producing the right amount of melatonin, anxiety is much higher, possibilities for depression is much higher, your sleep quality is much lower, so you're much more likely to carry weight around the different sort of midsection or different mm-hmm. different areas of your body. Yeah. And then the big thing is your DNA. Mm-hmm. The easiest way to think about it is like you have a piece of paper. Let's say this was like a really colorful drawing, right? Mm-hmm. Every time you photocopy that thing, it loses a little bit of the resolution, right? A little bit of the crispness.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you get a bad night's sleep, it's kind of like that resolution goes down and down and down and down. So if you go mm-hmm. through a large stretch of time where you're not sleeping properly because you're using, the phone at night, things like that, what will end up mm-hmm. happening is it's like a piece of paper that becomes faded and faded and faded over time until it's barely recognizable. Like you can hardly mm-hmm. see the ink. And that's the same thing that's happening at a genetic level in your body. You're going to get a bad copy of yourself, a little bit at a time. And, just like with every other chronic disease, once the breakdown happens, it's almost impossible to get back. Because mm-hmm. it took so long for that to happen. So mm-hmm. sleep is really, 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 really critical for all elements of mm-hmm. your health and well-being, for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, yeah. It reminds me also of a funny story. I guess this is a joke. I'm not sure, but the husband and wife, they're grumpy with each other, and they both seek counseling to get over their grumpiness. And so they're dealing with the individual counselors and one at a time. And so the wife goes in there and the doctor looks at her, or the psychiatrist or counselor, I should say, looks at her and says, did you wake up grumpy this morning? She says, oh, no, I let him sleep. I just got up and got him on bed and went home. I like that. But it's so important for sleep, because I know after my surgery with the prostate and not getting up 5 times a night, man, I didn't realize how good a good night's sleep really felt, because I just kind of like that frog in the hot water. I'd got used to it over a long period of time. And it didn't take me long to say, hey, this feels good. And you also too, you are an individual. You're very, very unique. If you look at your thumbprint, you know that no one has ever had your thumbprint since the beginning of time or till the end of time. Therefore, you're definitely thumb buddy, if I can put it like that. But, that's like some people say, well, if you want to sleep well, don't drink any coffee after 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, whatever the magic number is. But for me personally, I can drink coffee and I can go to sleep without any problem. But that's me personally. So that's what we're saying here is that, and we said this a little bit earlier, one size does not fit everybody. That's why when you go into a shoe store, they got everything from a 7 to a 12 for men and whatever the lady sizes are, But because not everybody's got the same size foot, and your body is different. So be patient with your body. And one of the best things I like to tell people when it comes to their health, especially when you're dealing with something that you've had for a long time and you're trying to cure it naturally or work at it, you didn't get in this condition overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight. Right. So be patient with yourself. And one of the things that I do in the morning when I get up I already have my coffee loaded, so I just push the button. But while that's dripping and all, I go over and I get a glass and I put some ice cubes in it, and I put my little formula in there. I've got my fulvic acid and a little pinch of sea salt, not regular iodized salt, but sea salt. And I enjoy drinking that because I read here about a year ago where the Oriental people, Japanese people, I don't care about political correctness because everything I say is in respect, but they're notoriously known for not being overweight or having good health and all that. And one of the things that they do when they get up in the morning is that they drink either one or more glasses of water. Because as you think about it, at nighttime, you're really fasting. And in the morning when you have breakfast, they call it breakfast because you're actually breaking the fast from the night before. That's why it's called breakfast. But if you drink water like that, and if you drink a lot of water during the day, which we all should, you will notice that you can actually lose weight from that. And also it'll help you with arthritis and even all kind of physical ailments. I got to keep an eye on the time here. I'm enjoying myself here talking with Nathan here. Oh, we got 8 minutes left. We got a couple more hours left. Go ahead, brother. But you probably cover a lot of that too, the importance of water, huh?
Yep, hydration is critical. And these things are interesting because a lot of times people know them, right? But what we know makes no difference. And it's important. Education is really important to make sure people understand why that is the case, right? Everybody knows you should get enough sleep, but if you ask them why, they won't know, right? But if people really knew why, they would make a much more concerted effort to actually get sleep. So I usually get my new clients. Hydration is one of the first games that we play. So the game is, you don't take what I'm saying, as the law, right? Here's a game. Go out, make sure you're play a game of drinking 4 liters of water a day, right? Now that really takes something. You really have to try to do that. But within a couple of days, people will come back right away and be like, man, energy levels like through the roof.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that people will notice right away is that when you're properly hydrated, you got everything moving well. Your cells are going to be alive. They're going to be much more vibrant. They're going to be alive. And so you're going to have things moving in your system. And so there's a lot of stuckness that we don't realize is happening by not staying hydrated. And I think if we just looked at the average amount of water that people drank, you would be shocked how little water people drink from day to day. And it's got a dramatic impact on energy levels in particular. And like you said, weight loss is another side effect of staying super hydrated as well. Yeah.
And in a very layman way of explaining it too, there's a lot of electricity, in your body there's a lot of energy there, and it's kind of like electricity. So think of it like this. Water is a great conductor for all those systems to communicate and work, because your gut and your heart and your brain, they're always in perfect harmony, and they've got to have enough water, because I forget how much, I forget what the percentage of water is in your brain. I probably got 10% more than anybody else up there, but anyway, like when you're asleep at night, what keeps your heart beating? What keeps your lungs breathing? It's, you think about simple things like that. And all we have to do is keep things simple. Listen to our body.
My gosh.
Go to the doctor, and you get your blood work and all that, do all the tests that you need. And most importantly, when you drink water, and remember one thing, I was taking saw palmetto and all these I was eating herbs like, a goat eats oats, trying to shrink my prostate, but that doesn't work too well. It maybe works good for some guys, but for me, I struck out, so it's something you got to be aware of. And, there's times you're going to need, surgery or something like that. Laser surgery is always better than, the being opened up with a knife. But my point being is, make sure you seek medical advice from a doctor. Make sure you go to people who are properly trained in their field of expertise, like Nathan is here, and that's his website there. And I did not put your email address on there. Nathan, someone will get in touch with you at risingphoenixwellness.org. How could they get in touch with you, sir?
Well, if they just go to the website, it'll prompt them to put in their email. They can do that. It's also Rising Phoenix Wellness on Instagram and Facebook. So the handle is always the same. Yeah. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, because it's very important, because I know Nathan, and Nathan be more than glad to help you answer any question you got. And, all the information that you can get, it enables you to make the right decision for you. And that's what I want for you. That's what Nathan wants for you. And let's be honest, that's what you want for yourself. It's just very, very important to be able to get information and read up on it and study it, and then try it and see if it works with you. But also, if it's something that could be considered, a health risk or something like that, please communicate that with your doctor. Because I was, back when I was studying my herbs and all that, I did that for about 10 years. There is an herb. What is it? I'm trying to think of the name of it. Let me go ahead and tell the story. It'll probably come to me in a moment here. But there's an herb that was clinically proven to return the color of your hair from gray to its natural color. And so I was taking this herb, but I was, going in, I could just go into the doctor's office there, and they take my blood pressure and all that. And hey, you're doing great, and da-da-da-da. Well, one time I go in there and my blood pressure is 140/90. I'm normally about 120/68 or something like that. I'm going like, whoa. So I did some research, and I found out that this herb that I was taking that will help restore the natural color of your hair. And it was starting to, get darker. It wasn't quite as gray as it is now. And it can elevate the blood pressure. So I stopped taking it, and my hair started turning gray, and my blood pressure dropped. And I figured, okay, well, from that experience, when I do check out and make the big escape, people can walk by and say, well, I can see why he died, I didn't want to be a good looking corpse. Where's the profit in that, But my point being, you can take information like that. If you don't know what you're doing, you can hurt yourself. That's why I want to share that with you. So be very, very careful. Get with Nathan and ask him some questions, because he'll give you a straight answer. And if he can help you, he certainly will. And we're just about out of time, Nathan. Where'd the time go?
Time flies when you're having fun, my friend.
Yeah, I know it. We've had a wonderful time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure and share this show. It'll be downloaded tonight, edited, and then uploaded on our YouTube channel, Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show on YouTube. and be sure and share this with someone else that you know in your life that could really benefit from it. On behalf of Nathan, be sure and visit Nathan at the risingphoenixwellness.org there. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to love yourself first, then you can love others. And be good to yourself, okay? We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.